So solve each of the following systems equations using elimination. Let's look at number 1. So we've got x minus y. If it helps to put numbers, you can. Like 1x, 1y equals 11. 2x plus 1y equals 19. So this is nice because your y's, so your x's, you got 1x and 2x. You could multiply, but if you're looking at your y's, you've already got a positive 1 and a negative 1. So they're already the same and opposite. So we can start right away with adding the two equations, and one of your variables should eliminate. So we just add straight down. So if you add your x's, 1 plus 2, 3x, negative 1 plus positive 1, they cancel. We're just going to leave that blank. We're not going to write 0 or anything. Equals 11 plus 19, 30. So we get that first variable, divide by 3. X is 10. So we have our x value. And just like with substitution, we need to get your other variable because we want an ordered pair, x and y. So this one, it's a little more work to find the second variable. So pick one of the two equations, whichever one you think looks easiest, to substitute in that x value of 10. So pay attention that you remember which variable you solve for. Sometimes we just write like 10. Like, did we find x? Did we find y? So pay attention to which variable you actually solve for. We found x, so we need to solve for y. So I'm going to pick the second equation. 2x plus 1y equals 19. So 2 times 10 plus 1y equals 19. And then just go about solving it. So 2 times 10 is 20. Plus 1y equals 19. Subtract your 20. Get y equals negative 1. So that's not always going to be the case, but we like when your equations are already set up with a positive and negative variable that is the same coefficient, because then you can just add them right away. And it's kind of the same with number 2. 4x plus 8y equals 20. Negative 4x plus 2y equals negative 30. So your x's are already 4 and negative 4. So same as number 1, you can start by adding them. So straight down, x's cancel. 8 plus 2, 10y. 20 plus negative 30, negative 10. Divide both sides by 10. And we get your first variable. So y is negative 1. We need to find or solve for x. So again, pick one of your two equations, whichever one seems easiest or looks easiest to you. I'm going to pick the first one. 4x plus 8y equals 20. We found y. So we are solving for x. So 4x plus 8 times negative 1 equals 20. You have 4x minus 8 equals 20. Add your 8 over. Four x equals 28. Divide by 4. So x is 7. All right, so it's not always that easy of just adding them up right away. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of work or setup. So like if you guys look at number 5, neither of your x's or your y's are the same number. Like we've got 5x and 10x. We've got 1y and negative 7. So neither of them are the same number. And then they're also not positive and negative. So you could do one of two things here. You could look at the x's, and you guys could make that 10x and negative 10x. You could look at the y's and be like, oh, well, you could make that 7 and negative 7y. So either one would work. I'm actually going to do the y's. So since they're already positive and negative, if this is negative 7, we want this to be positive 7. So you have to think, okay, 1 times what gives you 7? 7. It's just that you can't only choose to multiply the y term. It's an equation, and you have to keep it equal. So if you do need to multiply that 1 by positive 7, that's fine. You just have to do it to everything in the equation. So we're going to multiply that entire equation by positive 7 and get a new equation to add. So let's distribute the 7 in there. So 7 times 5, I'm going to write it right underneath. 35x. 1 times 7, 7y. 9 times 7, 63. I like to lightly cross out the one I changed only so that I don't accidentally add that one, because I want to add the new one that I just altered. So 10 plus 35. 45x. 7 and negative 7 cancels out. Negative 18 plus 63. 45. Divide both sides by 45. Get your first variable. So we know that x is 1. We need to solve for our y. So pick one of your original equations. It does not matter which one. I'm just going to cross the one out that I don't have, or use the one I don't have crossed out. So I'm going to use the 10x minus 7y equals negative 18. We found x. So 10 times 1 minus 7y is what we're finding, equals negative 18. So 10 times 1, 10, minus 7y equals negative 18. Got positive 10, subtract that over. Get negative 7y equals negative 28. Divide by negative 7. Get your second variable. So this time we multiplied by a positive. Only because we didn't need to change anything, because they were positive and negative already. So you're only multiplying by a negative number if you need to change a sign. So like if you look at number 6, so 2 and 7, like you could make them 14 and negative 14x, but then you'd have to multiply both equations. But if you look at the y's, we could make this 3y and negative 3y. So because they are not opposite signs, like they are both positive, this is when you guys need to multiply by a negative value. In number 5, we didn't multiply by a negative because the signs were already opposite. So only multiply by a negative if your signs are not positive and negative already. If they're both positive or both negative, we should be multiplying by that negative value. So if we have positive 3 here, we need this guy to be negative 3. So 1 times what gets you negative 3? Negative 3. Multiply the entire equation, so distribute it in there to the whole thing. So negative 7 times negative 3, 21. X, 1 times negative 3, negative, so minus 3y equals 19 times 3, or negative 19 times negative 3. And then again, I like to kind of, so 57, I kind of like to cross out the one that I altered so I don't try to add that. So we're going to add it with the top equation there. So straight down, negative 2 plus 21, 19x. 3y plus negative 3y. Cancels, eliminates, nothing there. Equals negative 19 plus 57. 38 divide both sides by 19 and get that first variable. Pick one of your equations to substitute x into. I'm just going to pick the one I didn't cross out. So we found x, so negative 2 times 2. We're finding y, so plus 3y equals negative 19. Clean it up, solve for x, or excuse me, solve for y. So negative 4 plus 3y equals negative 19. Add your 4. Get 3y equals negative 15. Divide both sides by 3. We're going to do one more where you guys have to multiply both equations. So let's look at number 9 yet. So for number 9, we've got 5x plus 4y equals negative 14. 3x plus 6y equals 6. So like you can't easily multiply 3 by anything to get negative 5. Can't multiply 4 by anything nicely to get to negative 6. So we have to think of numbers that they both go into like the lowest common multiple for both x coefficients and the y coefficient. So if you look at 5 and 3, you guys could make them like 15x and negative 15x. For 4 and 6, you could make it 12y or negative 12y. Like those are the lowest multiples that both of those values go into. So I'm actually going to get rid of or try to eliminate my y. So I'm going to make them 12 and negative 12. So we just need to multiply both equations and get two new equations to add together. So if we are trying to get 12 and negative 12, 4 times what is 12? 3. 6 times what is negative 12? Negative 2. So we are going to multiply both equations and get two brand new equations to add together. So let's distribute your 3 in there. So 15x plus 12y equals negative 42. And then distribute the negative 2 in there. Negative 6x minus 12y equals negative 12. Add them up. So 15 plus negative 6, 9x. 12 and negative 12 cancel, nothing there. Negative 42 plus negative 12. Negative 54, divide both sides by 9. So we get x to be negative 6. And then we need to just pick one of your original equations to plug into. It does not matter which one. Whichever one looks best to you. So I'm going to do the 3x plus 6y equals 6. So we found x, so 3 times negative 6 plus 6y equals 6. So negative 18 minus 6y equals 6. Add your 18 over. Negative 6y equals 24. Divide by negative 6. Y equals negative 4. So remember that you guys can always check your work. Just substitute your x and your y into both equations and make sure that is true. Always a good idea, especially on a test or quiz, if you've got some extra time. But you're trying to make, it doesn't matter which one for elimination, x's or y's, whichever one you feel you can get to be the same number, positive and negative, most easily, I guess.